so Chastity, we're talking about you, girl. Come on camera.
The same thing.
Where's she at? There she is.
I see a forehead.
Oh, that's not Chastity.
Nope. On her account, let me change my name.
I was like, hey, Chastity, Greg really wants to meet you. And I'm like, that is not Chastity. How are you, Lauren?
Fabulous. How are you guys?
Good. So Lauren, meet Greg. Greg, meet Lauren. Lauren, you'll have to connect Greg to Chastity. He's a fellow place agent and it was looking forward to meeting Chastity.
Yeah, she had some appointments this morning, so she is not in the office yet.
All good. All right, getting everybody in. All right, so the way this works is it is a true mastermind, which means I want you guys to feel comfortable asking questions. Put them in the chat. I'm going to be your MC and I will tee things up for the wonderful Greg. Greg does have a presentation, yet at any point I will interrupt him, ask him questions and kind of feed into the conversation. So you guys can come unmuted. I will mute folks while Greg is presenting. But this is all about you guys walking away with some tangible things that you can implement into your business is the point of doing these masterminds every single month. So I'm going to get us rolling. Greg, are you ready? Oh, we got ready. John's joining us.
John who? Douglas?
No, not Douglas. Here, hang on. Oop. Here we go. There we go. John's in. Connecting to audio. Okay. Sorry, I'm doing too many things at once. Let me go live in the Facebook group. Here we go.
Got this.
My spouse is using the blender because why wouldn't we right now? So hopefully you don't hear that.
He goes, I want to make some tomato soup right now.
He's just making his protein shake. Hey, Viviana, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Folks, if you guys want to put what location you serve in the chat, I would love for us to start making some connections because in addition to this being about us growing and learning, let's be honest, it's also about growing our businesses. So if we have referrals for each other in each other's markets or see opportunities to connect, let's post where everybody's at. All right, well, I'm going to get going and I'm going to introduce Greg. So welcome. This is our once a month mastermind. These are complimentary, driven to inspire, drive cultivation, and get you into activation so that you grow not only your lives, but your businesses. And for those that don't know me, I'm Lindsay Litton. I'm the master coach here and business strategist. I love bringing my friends on every single month to share insights and unique experiences. One of my friends that I'm really excited to introduce to you guys is Greg Carlson. So Greg is not only a real estate professional, but he's also a military veteran, which as you guys know, as an active duty military spouse, it's near and dear to my heart. So he leads the Carlson Real Estate Group in Austin, Texas. And Greg's achievements is he's one of the highest ranking realtors in the US, speaks volumes about his dedication and expertise to the real estate profession. He has a passion for leadership. And I got to be honest, as one of his friends, he has such an insightful mind at growing systems, implementation, that I am just super excited to see what he's going to be presenting to us today. Beyond his professional endeavors, Greg is a giver and he gives back to his community, devoting his time and resources to causes that are close to his heart. So without further ado, Mr. Gregory Carlson, welcome.
Well. Thank you so much. It's a thunderous Thursday over here. Without the thunder, it's just we're having a good time over in Austin, Texas. Lindsay, thanks for having me on here today. Let's have some fun, shall we? All right. So here's my mindset about systems and processes. About a year ago, I heard somebody say this, that amateurs wing it and professionals have processes. Well, I like to call myself a professional. And then I started asking myself the question, how do I systematize and create a process for everything in my business? Then I became obsessed with that. So right now, I don't only have 9 people reporting to me every single day. That includes admin staff and agents. That's 9 people directly. But I also host Austin Elite Men's Club, a private dinner society. I also have ATX Coffee Club, a weekly coffee event, and also have Awesome Christian Social Club. And I also managed to have time for the gym, going traveling probably once a month, all this other good stuff. So systems and processes, fire me up. Today we're going to talk about sellers and buyers. And I think I made a fun way, well, at least I think it's fun, to teach this. So bear with me. Let's go for a ride. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Let's go right over here. Before we get started, are there any questions, folks? No?
Let me
Awesome.
ask this question. When you guys think about systems and how you want to implement systems within your business, what comes up for you there? Like, what is the first thing that you think of? You're like, oh, I need a system for this. Is there anybody on the call today that's like, this is something that I have a need for in my business? System wise, we're all good. We all have magical systems. Don't be embarrassed. I will be the first to say that
Tracking referrals.
Ooh, okay. Yeah. Anyone else? All right. Well, Gregory.
I just wrote that down to see once we're through with this, if I've got any insights on that. Awesome. Okay. So I'll kick it off. So buyer and seller systems, we're going to talk about. I like to consider everybody's contact information, like their name, phone number, email address. I'm going to consider that a mustard seed. A mustard seed is because it's a very tiny thing. It doesn't do much for you, but you can grow it into a seriously large plant. So we're going to talk about watering the mustard seeds and how to harvest them and then duplicate them over time to grow your pipeline. When it comes to people's contact information, as said, each person's information can be seen as a small mustard seed that should be planted in your garden, which is also known as your CRM. Okay, so I'm always collecting everything. Time I see somebody or interact with somebody, I figure out the best way to get their contact information. Sometimes it is their cell phone number. Sometimes with people, the millennials, Instagram is going to be the best way. So figuring out what the best way for each individual contact is the best approach. Our goal is to collect the set amount of mustard seeds per year based on our transaction goals. So any place agents in here, place partners in here are going to recognize this conversion calculator once I pop it open. In order to calculate how many people you need in your data bank to reach X amount of closings, you're going to want to use a conversion ratio calculator. And here I'm just going to show you a sample of one. Click this puppy open. All right. Now let's say, for example, you want to close 35. We pay attention to the center of the screen here. You want to close 35 transactions. 10 of them come from past clients in your sphere. 15 come from open houses. And then 10 come from canceled and expireds. Well, with this conversion calculator, we can see that if we want to close, how many transactions was it? It was 15. You're going to need to host roughly 60 open houses. 60 open houses equals 15 closings. Okay. And then when it comes to the amount of conversations, let me go ahead and pop this open over here. One open house on average should equal 2 nurtures, 2 people that agree for you to follow up with them. And then 2 nurtures should equal 1 appointment. 4 appointments total equal 1 closing. So this talks about the principle of starting with the end in mind and working backwards. Okay, so how many closings do we need to reach our goals? And then create the financial model to get there. So, any questions on a conversion calculator before we move on? No? Cool. All right. So every time we add water to the mustard seed or communicate with the data bank, it's pertinent that we provide value every single time. If you call somebody and say, hey, I'm looking to check in with you, well, that's all we're going to get. We're only going to get a check-in. We're not going to get an update on their timeline. We're not going to get a referral from them. It's kind of a wasted activity if we could just call it a check-in. So one major hurdle which I've identified that most agents face rather is that they don't know how to provide value. They just don't know what value they have. So I went ahead and created this sheet here. Feel free to screenshot this. Literally sat down and wrote down some things we can talk about when reaching out to our data bank. I'm just going to go through a few of them. Our market expertise, we're the local economists of choice, right? People want to know what's going in the market. So, hey Steve, hey Sally, this is Greg. I want to give you a quick update because I know you're in the real estate market, helped you buy a house 3 years ago. This is what's going on. Vetted vendors, of course, you know who's good, who's bad, and who's in between when it comes to contractors. So call them up and ask them if they need any help with their house. Events. This one's one of my favorites. We bring excitement into people's lives. We're a local communitarian, so we help them connect with their neighbors and people in their city. And I'll just leave it like this for 3 seconds if you want to give that a screenshot. So the goal on a yearly basis is to send value at a minimum of 36 times. I'm sure a lot of us have heard this, the 36 touch program. Now your VIPs, however you identify that, whether it's top 10, top 100, top 200, they shouldn't get an additional amount of touches, such as event or exclusive invites to your VIP events. And you want to make sure they know that it's an exclusive invite. Not everybody gets invited. Cool.
Great.
Now, yeah,
Great.
what you got?
What are some examples of some VIP events that you do for your top 100?
Oh yeah, so I rented a boat downtown Austin. It's a double-decker boat. So downstairs they had a bartender. We had a photographer on the boat to take pictures with the skyline in the background, and we had snacks, a gift for everybody when they walked off. We had about 40 people show up to that. It was a hit, central location, really easy and low cost. I think in total I spent $1,200. Another thing is I hosted. Oh, go ahead.
Well, and I was going to say, and how many referrals did you get from it?
How many did we get? On that event, we got 4 referrals.
So based on the average price point in Austin, Texas, I would say your investment at $1,200, pretty worth it.
Yeah. Average commission out here is like 15,000. So
Yeah.
It's good.
Everybody on the call could do that math.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about now that we're constantly watering at a minimum of 36 times per year. I want to talk about harvesting the crops. Okay. When communicating with your data bank, it's always good to double check their timeline and create a follow-up task based on that timeline. This is where our CRM really comes into play. Whenever I make calls, I always have my CRM up. And I don't think that I'm doing my job. That's at least what I tell myself. If I call somebody and they're not in my CRM, that's the standard I uphold for myself. When appropriate, go for the appointment. Now, this is a subjective topic. When is it ultimately appropriate to go for the appointment? Well, some people would say if it's a year out, go meet with them, right? What I say is I think that you got to go for the appropriate type of appointment at the appropriate time. And I actually have another list, which I'll send you, Lindsay, and you can share that with everybody. It's a type of appointment list. So for example, a desktop CMA. Has anybody here ever done what is called a desktop CMA? No.
Does anybody
Yeah,
even know what that is?
Yeah, so the desktop CMA, it's a face-to-face activity, which is really cool. Let's say you're cold calling. Somebody wants to know the value of their house, but they're not super comfortable. They're like, I don't want you to come to my house. I don't know if you're a fraudster or not. Oh, hey, no problem. I'll send you a Zoom link. You can just snap like 3 pictures of the main living areas, and I'll use Google Street View for the exterior, and we'll go over the market and give you a rough estimate of what you could sell for today. And then you send them an email, they see your pictures and stuff on there, they realize you're legitimate, and they most likely agree to the meeting. Really cool. Let's see here. That's one example. FaceTime, not the app. I think it auto-corrected to the app text here. FaceTime is the highest form of communication with leads. So if you can't get that in-person meeting, you definitely want to go for a virtual face-to-face meeting if possible. Okay. Last but not least, a phone appointment if you have to resort to that. Getting in the door sooner rather than later is going to add glue to the relationship. So me personally, even if they're years out or they don't even have real estate plans, I'm going to see if they want to meet for coffee, because it's always appropriate, in my opinion, to meet for coffee. And coffee is a loosely based term. You can get, dinner, meet up somewhere, whatever. So if they're not willing to meet in person, perhaps a desktop CMA or virtual buyer consultation will work. Let me click this just to see what we got here. Buckets of value. Okay. Here's another. This is something I printed out for the agents on my team. We put it up on the wall in the office here to help them remember the different things they can say when they're on the phone to offer people when it comes to offering value. Monthly market report, event, invite them to a local event, so on and so forth. All right.
Can I pause for a second? Can I pause?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So I want to take a moment to say, who here feels like they're really mastering communicating with their clients at least 36 times a year? So Viviana says she's half that. Anyone else? I know there's a couple of my coaching clients on the call that we're working on setting up this touch system for them, and making sure they're getting these touch points.
At the end, I'm going to make a note here. I'll tell you what we do to do this. Cool?
Yep.
Yeah. How we do it. Check.
Okay.
Awesome.
Good. Yeah, because I want to make sure that folks, again, understand this is something that I preach. Get in communication with your database. As the market is shifting, everybody's like, oh, where am I going to go get my leads? And yes, there is pay to play, yet most agents are sitting on a beautiful thing called their database. And if we're communicating with it properly, then it creates a more sustainable lead gen system, because these are people that already know, like, and trust you. And all we have to do, as Greg is highlighting, is stay in communication with them and provide value.
Yeah, if we take a look at this lead generation target of importance, we have the bullseye being our CRM, our data bank. It's right in the middle. It's the heart. So let's make sure we market to them that way. Woo. All right. So during the consultation, it's always good to implement the promise script with your clients. A promise script it's for us, it's a slide that we put in our buyer and seller packet. So when we're sitting with our clients, we actually say to them, and our promise to you is that you're going to be so satisfied with our service that you can't help but to tell your friends and family. In fact, if we get to the closing table and we don't get a referral during this process, we're probably going to ask ourselves what we did wrong, what we could have done better. And at that point in time, we're going to ask you for feedback. Sound fair? Great. And then you ask them along the way. Now, out of every 10 transactions, you should get right around 5 referrals. That's a 50%. Great. That's amazing. It's amazing. So all you have to do is embed this tiny little script in your consultation, and to make sure you don't forget, put it in the slide deck and you're good to go. And ounce preparation is, oh, go ahead.
How many times do you ask for the referral with one client? Because you're not just asking for it once, right? You're not just saying it in consultation. You're saying it multiple times.
Yeah. You ask it when you're, let's say it's buyers. You ask it when you're showing properties. You ask it when you're under contract. You ask it past the option period, past the negotiations. You ask it at closing. So that's roughly 4 times.
Yeah. And you're getting 50% referrals by just asking for it multiple times.
That's a good conversion ratio that's a good benchmark for conversion. Yep.
Yeah. Wouldn't everyone on this call love to get 50% more business from the folks that we're already working with? And it's so simple, yet a lot of people just don't ask. So thank you for highlighting that.
Yeah, of course. And then we ask ourselves, right, how do we systematize that? Simply put it in your consultation. And then you don't even have to think about it. It just automatically comes up. Really, really good. This will set you up for the most success when it comes to getting referrals from your clients. And here I have the actual script, which I can send out to Lindsay as well. Pretty short and sweet, a couple paragraphs, but it takes, like, as you heard, maybe 20 seconds to say. Cool. Boom. All set. Yeah.
So
So,
again, isn't it crazy to see Greg's screen and how organized everything is? When I talk about how Greg is a systemized, well-oiled machine, you guys kind of got a snapshot into his world on how his systematized brain thinks. Greg, talk to us about the 36 touch that you're currently implementing with your database.
So I know I only have 4 emails in my box right now. Yeah. 4. Okay.
You have what? 4 emails?
I have 4 emails in my inbox. Yeah.
Oh,
That's
God.
fine. I'm just taking pride. That's all. I just proud of it.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, for accountability's sake, do you want to see all the little red things? Yeah.
Oh. So check it out. 36 touch program. If we work with a VA partner, a virtual partner, I'm going to encourage everybody to have them run the newsletter, and utilize a separate CRM like MailChimp to help create the outline for that and send the automatic once a month emails. So that's 12 out of 36. Then I also recommend utilizing your main CRM, if it has this capability, to send once a month text messages. And you can get creative with this. Some of my texts to my data bank are jokes, dad jokes. Why? Because I believe in humor and fun. So, hey, everybody, it's April. And then it'll just say something funny. We appreciate you, Carlson Real Estate Group. Have a great day, right? So that's 24. And you can create that in like 10 minutes. Set it up for the whole year. The next thing for your people, your sphere of influence, are 4 calls. What system do you use for text messages? I use Brivity. That's my CRM, Brivity. Yeah, Brivity. What else? Quarterly phone calls. There's a system that Keller Williams uses. You could probably just Google it. It's called Do the Data Bank 2.
D2.
D2. Yeah, so you could just search that and print out the protocol, put all those things in your calendar. So basically what it boils down to is you call 2 letters like A's and B's during 1 week. And that equates to 4 phone calls a year per person. What's this? We also use Lolo. What's that? Let me see here. Lolo,
Oh, yeah,
which is monthly
great.
subscription.
So Lolo's a subscription thing that sends out coupons and little things to your database, right? I'm not, Lauren, you can pop on and describe what it is, but I've had a couple clients that have used this. Talk to us about your success with it, Lauren.
So last month was actually our first month doing it, but our game plan is to implement or upload at least like 100 of our clients. It's gonna be our A's are coming soon. Some of our just closed, just to kind of keep us top of mind. We have, because of KW, and we have like a family reunion discount code. So it's like $1.25 a person. If you don't have a discount code, it's like $1.75 a person. But you just upload your list of people that you want to have it sent to, and they do all of the work. And they get a text and an email. You have like a dashboard where you can see anybody that's opening it. So you can see who's redeeming it. You can see like literally all of them, like who looked at the text, but who actually clicked on the link. Like you have a full thing that you can look at, and it kind of adds an extra touch. So then also, before you send it out, in the group that we add all of those clients to, we have like a VIP Facebook group. Chelsea also videos herself and says, hey, like some of you are getting this specific gift from this month is like a bakery. So it was kind of cool because that adds a whole extra touch in as well, because she sends that to them also. Like a
And
little
Lauren,
gift
It's
herself.
awesome.
they're local businesses that they're partnering with, right?
It's local businesses, but it also depends on the location. So we're here in El Paso, but we had clients that were on the list that aren't local. So we were able to send, they got something that was a little bit different because they weren't in that location.
Oh, that's cool. How many people do you think redeemed the offer?
So this time, but just went out a week ago, and I think we had 3 or 4 people redeem it. I haven't looked today though. That was last week when I checked. I haven't pulled it up for this week yet. It's actually on my task list to do today, just to see if anybody else has actually done the thing with it.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely took a note for Lolo on here. That's great.
Yeah, we loved it. Like, it was cool, and people were texting, like, even if they haven't redeemed it, people were texting Chastity specifically because it's got her information on it. So they were texting her outside of that specifically and having conversations just to be like, hey, thank you so much. Like, we're thinking we have a timeline, or this is what's going on. So it kind of opened up the door for additional combos.
Love that. Love that.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, so we've got the 12 emails for your newsletter, 12 text messages, quarterly phone calls, 2 handwritten notes per year. Okay. The event invites, you're going to have entire data bank event invites. With that alone, you can tack on 5 or 6 touches. Then you've got pop buys, POP-buys. Now I can't hit every single client in the same quarter unless I leverage that out and hire somebody, but it kind of defeats the purpose because it's my goal to go see the clients at their house, say hello, get that FaceTime. If they're not there, then I'll just do a screenshot or a selfie with the gift in my hand in front of their house saying, hey, sorry, I missed you. Hope all is well. Yeah, it's really easy to get to 36 touches. It is. And the more you can automate or leverage, the better. There's some things you just can't. Most, I'd say you can.
Greg, are you because I know there's a lot of services that do handwritten notes. Are you leveraging that?
No.
You're writing them.
Yeah, because it's not too much. It's not a lot. And sometimes you don't want to make phone calls. So that's when I replace my phone calls with writing notes. It's helpful to be able to have that time to do that.
Ooh, can I highlight that for just a second? Because I know a lot of people are like, oh, I didn't get to my calls. Well, I didn't do my things. And it's like, we all have days where we don't want to be on the phone. But what Greg is saying is I show up every single day and I do something to interact with my database. So I love that he replaced the phone call activity with writing notes to the database.
Yeah, sometimes you're just not feeling it. Like, I can't make a call to save my life today. Well, boom, there's your transition. Get right in the note cards. People, when I think about businesses, this is an underrated activity. This and the pop buys. Think about any company you work with, the grocery store you've been going to for 10 years, your oil change company. Do they ever call you? No. Do they ever come to your house with a gift? No. Do they ever write you a note card? No. So by doing these things, it sets you apart not just from other real estate companies, but from any other company in general. Really powerful.
And by the way, if you want to know how much you spend with your grocery store, if you're like me, you spend $300 a week, 52 weeks, you're spending $16,000 with your grocery store. I get no thank you from King Supers. Excuse me.
Better. You better write them a card. Say, hey, where's the card? Now, what is the driving force behind all of this? How do we actually ensure that this happens? I'm going to talk about it at its simplest form, and that's accountability. Accountability. We need to have a system of accountability to make sure that these systems actually work. So the way I go about doing that is I meet with my admin. My admin is a virtual partner, and we go over our business plan once a week. We have a 1-3-5 business plan. It doesn't matter what kind of business plan you have, but putting that electricity behind it, that's what it is. So meeting once a week and saying, hey, are we doing this? Are we doing this? And what is crazy to me, I said this a few weeks ago, is that no matter how often we look at this thing and execute upon it, we're always making improvements. It's like every time there's something different that we add or something that we might miss. And it's a simple one-page document. It's pretty powerful stuff. So imagine what business would be like if we didn't do that, right? How much we would miss, how much we wouldn't execute our plan. It's definitely not worth the risk. So figure out a way to systematize your accountability with any action item that you have in your business.
Greg, I want to ask a question, a slight pivot from our conversation. How are you adjusting your buyer systems in prep for what's going to possibly happen in July?
Yeah. I was talking about this yesterday. For us, it is a change in script. Simply a change in script. So how do we, at its simplest form, prepare the agents and myself? Well, type up a different script that can inform buyers and sellers on what changes they are to expect, and practice it every single day. Because, I mean, we're already experiencing some, if you want to call it heat. I only experienced heat once with a seller recently. He's like, what about all the stuff in the news? I shouldn't have to pay this and that and the other thing. He's a little aggressive, and luckily I was skilled enough to, cool the situation down a little bit. But yeah, people are going to ask, and we just need to be prepared with what we say to them. Personally, I don't think it's going to affect us in the long run. I think that at the end of the day, people are still going to get paid their professional fee. It's just figuring out creative ways to find that money in the transaction, in the paperwork. Did that answer your question at all? Okay.
Yeah, no, you did. And I think, part of it is I'm encouraging folks to start thinking about and anticipating ways that they can shift their scripts, their business. It just prepares you. If nothing happens in July, awesome, we're prepared. Something does happen, awesome, we're prepared. But either way, I encourage everyone on the call to think about it as an opportunity, not an obstacle, because there's always opportunities when we're faced with challenging situations. So I think it's an opportunity to have dialogue with your clients. A lot of us I know don't want to go out and say, we don't want to spread any kind of fear because the media is doing a fair amount. They're doing that for us, right? But I do think it's our job to show up as a professional and say, hey, here's how I'm a professional and here's how I'm going to guide you through this interesting time that we're faced with.
Yeah, and somebody put it to me in a way that really made sense a couple of weeks ago. He brought back the 2006 Barbara Walters 60 Minutes episode where she interviewed an icon in the real estate industry. And she had on the chalkboard, she wrote 6%, huge 6%, and then wrote an X through it. And it was a huge stir back then. She said, these days are over. And then what has happened since then, right? It was a big stir. People were stressed. But at the end of the day, nothing really changed. It was simply a change in the conversation. So I'm expecting something similar to happen.
Questions for Greg. Systems that you want to pick his brain on. I mean, Greg lives and dies by systems. When I say, I'll have strategic meetings with Greg and a couple other folks, and then Greg's the one that's like, okay, cool, here's how we're going to implement this. Boom, 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 boom. I love his level of organization. Greg, how do you use your calendar? Let's go there.
Oh my gosh, I love the calendar.
That's a very simple system that a lot of people don't utilize. Who here utilizes their calendar? Well, all right, Greg, talk to us about how you utilize your calendar, because maybe you could give us some tips.
All right, awesome. My first favorite thing is color coding your activities. Okay, code them to where it makes sense to you. For example, I use green for any income producing activities, such as lead generation. I use red because red's like, whoa, sound the alarm. You don't want to miss this. This is super important. So I use red for listing appointments, buyer consultations, anything that involves other people or my name's on the line. Super important. Blue, my favorite color, I use it for personal activities, like going to the gym. So you get to pick. Definitely want to color code that calendar. I also use Google Calendar. I use Google for everything, aside from my CRM, of course. Why? Because Google also has a task function. Google Tasks, y'all, oh my gosh. I don't know what I would do without this little app right here. Yeah, you probably can't see it, so I'm gonna shake it around a little bit. Anyways, it's called Google Tasks. On one of my task lists, I have 5,945 completed tasks. That's on one list, okay? Imagine if I had to remember all those things. What? Not happening, not happening. So what's cool is when you have your Google Calendar up, you also have your task list right there because they're both Google, super streamlined.
So what are you putting on your task list?
Yeah, I'm putting on my task list like, tell Joyce about performance improvement plan. Client lease documents, get them done, right? These are like hot things that I got to do as soon as I have a gap. As soon as I have a white space in my calendar, boom, my time goes right to that, to that list. And once that list is done, get back to my first business priority. Yep. What else with calendar? Got to make sure you add drive time too with that bad boy. That's something I've been getting better at. Yeah, love it. What else? What else? As far as the
You said
calendar
you have
goes,
multiple
hit that.
task lists. I'm intrigued by this because I'm
you
not
are?
using the task function. I use my calendar and everything's color coded. Anything that makes me money is yellow because I associate it with gold.
Yeah.
And so I'm not using the task function. What are you like? I'm intrigued here. How many lists do you have? Like,
All right, so check it out, folks. Here's my calendar right here. Boom. So we
Woo.
got this awesome meeting right here. Yep. Got some drive time because I got a listing appointment at 2:00, you know, all this good stuff. And then over here on the right, we have my task list. This is my hot task list. These are things that are due today as soon as possible. Then I've got a long-term business task list. Any ideas that I want to implement in the long term, lower priority. Any personal task lists, things I might need to take care of for my house. Austin Elite Men's Club task list, any quotes that come to mind that inspire me, I don't want to forget. I use this thing probably on average 30 to 40 times a day. I'm adding and picking away tasks. Really helpful. Yep.
what's that? Okay.
It's fired up.
You're meeting Joe Rogan tonight?
I'm going to watch him tonight he's going to do a comedy show downtown Austin.
Like, are you,
Yeah, y'all should come. Y'all should come.
what's going on with Joe Rogan?
Yep.
All right. Again, this isn't a mastermind unless you guys utilize your time with the expert. What questions do you have for Greg? I'm just gonna start picking people. Angie,
Pick them.
what you got,
Yeah.
girl?
Well, my biggest question is like the referral thing. Do you have a system for that?
Oh, okay, gotcha. Let me see here. Tracking referrals. So tell me more about tracking referrals. What specifically?
When you're
does that
sending
mean?
referrals to other agents?
Yes, when we're sending referrals to other agents, or also sometimes when they're sending them to us, because there's that lag between when the agent gets it and they're under contract. Yet the sending agent still wants these updates that we're trying to track. So it gets a little messy.
Yeah. So 3 things come to mind. 3 things. The first thing is adding a 15-minute block on your calendar once a week. A 15-minute block once a week to I would call it nurture what's it called? Nurture referrals or track referrals, whatever you want to call it, that's going to signal you to go ahead and do this. And if you're not the best suited to do that role, leverage it. Ask somebody else to do it. That way you don't have to think about it. That's number 1. So calendar utilization. The second thing is your CRM. My CRM personally has a inbound and outbound referral specific space on it. So anytime I send a referral, I simply enter it in there and then it saves it all in one place. Okay, so that's your second thing. And then the third thing is whatever document system that you use. So if you use Dotloop or DocuSign, I have a, what do you use for documents, by the way?
Dotloop.
Perfect. So do I. So I have a loop that I created titled referral forms and W-9s.
Yes, I have that too.
Perfect. Yeah. So anytime I get one of those, I put it up in there. Yep. And then you know what? Let's actually go to the fourth thing. Anytime you talk to an agent via email that refers you or you refer them, put them in a folder, referrals folder. So you have 4 different ways to keep track of any communications or documents. And then you also have the accountability piece, the lifeblood of it, which is putting on your calendar and putting activity behind it.
Yes, okay. Thank you.
My pleasure.
And I actually have a spreadsheet that has like kind of everything that happens in a referral transaction. I'm happy to send that out too, if anybody wants to utilize a spreadsheet.
Yes, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, happy
Wow,
to.
I want to see that.
Yeah.
What
I mean,
about,
I did own a referral
okay.
network at one point.
That's true. That's true. Does anybody recruit here? There's something that's I'm itching to kind of talk about, but only if it makes sense. Does anybody do recruiting here? No?
Recruiting for their team or agent
Correct, yeah,
attraction?
for-
Define
for-
recruiting,
for
because that
agent-
could have
define-
different meanings.
Yeah, to find agents. Find agents.
For their team?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, I see some hands
Can we
here.
talk-
Yeah,
Talk a little bit about that? Okay.
yeah,
cool.
let's go.
So, there's 2 platforms to find agent partners. The first one is our Brivity Recruiter. That's our CRM that also that runs ads on Indeed, Monster, all those other things. Okay. Now the trick to that is refreshing that feed every 2 weeks. Not only that, this is a pro tip. You're not only refreshing the feed every 2 weeks, but also changing the ad copy. You need to change the ad copy. Okay. And have a minimum of 5 ads running at once for your city. 5 ads at once. So that's easy. You set that up, put it on your calendar every 2 weeks to go in there and just refresh it, change the ad copy for a minute. Use ChatGPT. It's very simple. And then Indeed.com. I spend $5 a day directly on Indeed. And with those 2 systems, I get a ton of leads. Then I have a virtual partner go in once a day on both platforms, Indeed and my CRM. And what they do is reach out to these new applicants. They reach out, they say, hey, you still looking to join? They call and they text. Call and they text. And as soon as they get a time, they reflect their calendar with my calendar because my VA has access to my calendar. And they book a 15-minute intro call. Yesterday, I had 4 15-minute intro calls booked in my calendar. All I had to do is pick up the phone, press dial, and talk to these candidates. It's an incredible system for the lead funnel. Now, if you don't have a virtual partner, you have a question?
I was gonna say, from the 4 calls that you did, how many of those moved to the next step in your system?
2.
2, so like a 50% conversion?
Correct. Yeah, the other 2, one had to reschedule and the other one was a no-show. Yep. So it's something that we just developed because I just brought on this VA partner. I'm like, what do I need? What's something that I don't need to do in this process? And then we leveraged it.
That's awesome.
Boom. Yeah. What else? I mean, this stuff fires me up. I get like kind of too excited, really. I really do.
Well,
What's
and
another hiccup? Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
I was gonna say there's a pattern with Greg. I don't know if you guys have noticed it, but it's like Greg puts these 15-minute increments on his calendar so that he's got consistency and accountability on following up with the system that he creates. Because how many of us create a system and then we're like, oh, it's not working? Well, part of that is we're not utilizing it either, right? So the system only works if you're consistent in using it.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna answer your question in just a second here. That follows the principle of inspecting what we expect. And that not just applies to people in our organization like agents or admin staff, but also ourselves. What do we expect from ourselves? Everything deserves accountability. Go ahead. You got a question? Viviana? Yeah.
Yeah. So I just hired a VA for the company, so they're gonna be helping us, but I am clueless. Like, she said it on Monday and I'm like, I don't know what to give you. Like what are things that you at the beginning when you got like your virtual partners, like what did you give them to handle? Like I have a hard time giving my stuff up. Like I want to do it all, but I know they're professionals and I'm sure if I teach them, they can do it, but I'm like super afraid of that. So I'm like, I don't know what to give you.
Yeah, so for me, I'll just tell you everything that I have 3 virtual partners total. I'll tell you everything they do. One is they help with event planning and marketing those events. 2 is data bank management. 3 is recruiting lead flow that we just talked about. 4 is finances. They manage and compartmentalize all of our receipts. 6 is video editing and disbursement. So I have a podcast, I record long form, they chop it up, edit it, and disperse it on all the social media platforms. There's more. Oh, social media management. One virtual partner is on my Facebook account, messaging people for me.
And when you say they're on your account, Greg, are you giving them access to your profile? So they're pretending they're you.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my pro tip with that is if you have them pretend they're you, is to have them learn how you speak.
Mhm.
So
I think I learned
creating,
that from you, coach.
I was gonna say that sounds like something I did. I actually created, when I had virtual assistants in my account, a how to talk like Lindsay 101. And it was an SOP on the vernacular, how I sound, how I write. So that it wasn't this jarring experience of like, whoa, that doesn't sound like Lindsay, simple things like most of the time I address people pretty casually, like, hey girl, hey. So my virtual assistants had to learn that. And when they learned that, I would say it was a good 85% solution of them managing my account.
Awesome. Think about how much time you get back.
No, so much time.
It's great.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. What other, this is a question I was going to ask everybody. What other things do you get stuck on? Like, what would you like to have less resistance in your business? Because we could talk about that. It could be recruiting. It could be your finances. It could be your lead generation. It could be your training schedules. It could be your calendar, how you structure your calendar for yourself. Just spitballing topics here. Does anything come up?
I can go.
Yeah, keep
Yeah.
going, keep the ball rolling. I was like, otherwise I'm going to keep emceeing, and that this wouldn't be a mastermind if it wasn't about you guys.
So it seems like you have your systems down, you have your calendar like perfect. Like my calendar is a little bit of shit show. But like I'm addicted to my phone and I'm trying to get away from that. Like when I time block, I still have my phone next to me and I'm like, oh, let me just check if somebody mail me or text me. How do you handle that? Because I'm like, I erase all my notifications, but I still get distracted. I'm like, oh my, I'm get like nervous that I'm gonna miss something.
Okay, so let's talk about 3 things here. I'm going to talk about Richard Branson, and then I'm going to talk about nervousness, and then I'm going to talk about dedicated time for yourself. Whew. So when we look at a billionaire like Richard Branson, I think about who's doing it the best. Well, he's a billionaire with a B, so I think he does it pretty well. And he's got 10-minute increments. That's how he lives his life, in 10-minute increments. So that had me changing my 30-minute calendar blocks to, wait a minute, Greg, how much do I actually need for this activity? And then what happens if I have time left over, right? Let's say I block 15 minutes. What if I do it in 7? What can I do with that extra 7 minutes, right? The quality of our lives is dictated by the quality of questions we ask ourselves. How deep can we go, right? Let's get real efficient. Let's get microscopic, because the success of our business and the success of our lives is also embedded in the smallest pieces. So how micro can we get to get bigger, right? That's my thought on mindset. Nervousness. What are you afraid you're going to miss out on?
Like a call or a text from a client, or I don't know, like I can open a lockbox, and if I put my phone away, like somebody's in front of a house and they cannot open the lockbox.
Yeah, what happens? What happens if all three things happen at one time? What's gonna happen?
Well, he can wait, I guess.
Well, no, for real, so let's do a little fear setting exercise.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an actual exercise, that's real term. So let's say, for example, you missed that call, an agent can't get in. Use that as an example. Let's go through that. Let's say you book 2 hours for yourself. You're getting a massage for 2 hours. You can't have your phone. No chance of you picking that up. What happens?
I guess my agent means showing up the house, or even one of my
And what
agents.
Yeah, exactly. And then what happens next?
They have to reschedule, or I miss a possible selling the house.
Okay, and then what happens?
Guess they can come back and show the house.
They can. If they really want to see that house, they can. Okay. Okay, now what happens if it's 5 p.m., you're at dinner with your family, and you miss a phone call from your client, VIP client, $10 million buyer. Woo! You're not picking up for another 3 hours because it's Easter dinner. What happens if you don't call them back? What's going to happen? I'm just curious. You got to tell.
I guess they can go to another agent, or they can wait for me until I call back in 3 hours.
Yeah, so were they really your client if they worked with another agent?
No.
Did you do a good enough job expressing your value up front? If they're going to go work with another agent right away?
Probably not.
Yeah. And then what happens next? If you do call them back 3 hours later and they pick up, what happens next?
I can write a $10 million offer.
It's like no matter what way you cut it, everything works out.
Okay.
Yeah, I think FOMO is a myth. It's a myth. That's another mindset thing. And then what was the last thing I wrote? Did it? Oh crap, I can't even read my own handwriting. It's so funny. Anyways, that's all I got for that one. My bad. I can't read my handwriting. I wrote too fast.
Thank you.
Yeah, you got it. Cool, what else?
How many people are actually unplugging? When I talk with a lot of coaching clients, the number one thing that comes up when we talk about quality of life, which is kind of what Greg just touched on, is that they feel like they have to be on 24/7, 7 days a week. I can never put my phone away or my laptop away. Who feels like that?
I do.
Greg, what are your thoughts on debunking that mindset? Because
Yeah,
it kind of it goes back to, I love, by the way, Greg, amazing content. Thank you so much for sharing with us. But it goes back to something that you said earlier in the conversation, which is you kind of live and die by the small little behavioral adjustments that you're making. So it starts with one like slip, right? Like, oh, well, I just got to take this call. It's 5:30 Easter dinner. It's okay. I just got to take this call. That turns into, oh, I got to write this offer. That turns into, right? You can see the domino effect of how your boundary that you try to set slowly gets pushed down over time by your small incremental actions that you take every single day. How do we take back some of that control?
yeah. So you nailed the key word there by saying the word control. Why are we in real estate? We want more control of our time, more control of our income, control of our lives. Well, how much control are we actually in if we're taking those calls at 7 p.m.? If we're writing those off at 11 p.m.? We're not. It's backwards. Doesn't make any sense, right? So, yeah, why are we business owners? That's the first question that I wrote down. To get our control back. Second thing, the second principle is discipline. It's implementing discipline, because while we need to be on the offensive, right? Real estate sales, you're on the offensive. You're calling. You're saying, how can I help you? How can I help you? What do you need? Anybody out there? Hello. We also need to be on the defensive to what's most important to us. And this is something that we constantly forget. Let's not do that anymore. When I talk about being on the defensive, we need to defend our time. Defend our time. Because that's, again, why are we a business owner? We want more time for ourselves. We want to live a lifestyle that is enticing to us. So here's a good activity to start practicing this. Figure out your dollar out per hour. Leverage out any activity, any and every activity that you can pay someone to do that is less than that amount. That is less than that amount. If you're mowing your own lawn and it costs $50 an hour, but you're making $300 an hour, you should not be mowing your lawn unless you just love to do that. It's your peace time. Cleaning your house, right? This is a great exercise to implement. It's all about protecting your time, protecting your money, and protecting your lifestyle. Being on the defense every now and then. Mm-hmm.
Greg, when do you turn your phone off? Is there a certain time at night that you just turn it off and you're done? You unplug?
Yeah, after 7, I'm not taking client calls. We're not talking to clients. No way. But that's because after 7, like I'll be at the gym. Sure, I'll text people because I'm just floating around. You know, I got a nice amount of time in between lifts and stuff. And I'll just be like, yeah, boop, 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 boop. But then once that's done, I'm turned off, and it feels so good. It feels so good to do that. And there's no emergencies in real estate. Oh, this is a good one. This is a good principle. I learned like my first month. There's never an emergency in real estate. Option period here in Texas ends at 5 o'clock, which means nobody's doing anything. Offices are closed after 5 o'clock. So 7 o'clock is the 2-hour bonus for whomever. I mean, that's one way to look at it, right? Yeah, it can definitely wait. Definitely wait. If a client impresses their urgency upon you, just know that it's, everything's gonna be okay. Yeah.
So one of the things that I have done that helps me is I will set a timer for an activity, kind of like Greg. I tell my friend Alexa, I'm gonna wake her up by just saying her name. I tell her to set a timer for something. I accomplish whatever it is that I accomplish. The extra minutes that I'm left over with, Greg will appreciate this. I take my shoes off and I go walk around outside. And I get some fresh air, get a little bit of a recharge, kind of shake up my environment a little bit, and then I come back and then I tackle the next thing.
Yeah, let's talk about breaks. Another defensive activity. When you're working hours on end at your office, you're lead generating, doing admin tasks and leading people and all this stuff, when you take your break, be super intentional about that. Super intentional. And also ask yourself, what kind of break works best for you? It could be a quick lap around the parking lot. It could be going sit in your car listening to music for 15 minutes. It could be closing your eyes, whatever. Figure out what works for you, because that recharge is imperative to help negate burnout.
Yeah. We are at time. So
What?
I know. Dang. Okay. I want to thank you guys so much for joining us today. Greg, thank you for sharing your infinite wisdom with us. Your questions, your perspective is super helpful, and we appreciate you for that. This will be recorded. There was a lot of things that we talked about, a lot of scripts, a lot of value add that Greg is willing to share with the community. So I'll make sure that I get those and include it in the email recap. Is there any final questions, final notes of thank you we want to give Gregory before we pop off? Who's going to turn their phone off tonight and not answer it at 9:30 at night? I actually turn mine off at 3 o'clock in the afternoon because that's when I go and pick up my kids. Yeah. So I don't do stuff beyond 3 o'clock. I'm out of my office. That is when I look at Greg's eyeballs. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, this guy I follow on social media, Ed Milet, is somebody I look up to for time blocking. He's got like 700 million in volume or in the bank or whatever. And he time blocks time for his family. And when he does, nothing else matters. It's like, dude, yes.
Yeah. I had a health scare last year, and it was a quick perspective is to your time is very limited on this earth, and this business that we dedicate so much time to building. We've got to make sure that we pay attention to the people that mean the most to us too. All right, my friends. Thank you, Greg.
My
There
pleasure.
will be an email
Thank you.
recap. If you have questions or you want to get connected, feel free to get connected with us. I've got Greg's contact information, your agent of choice in Austin, Texas. And I hope you guys will be joining us next month. I will be bringing guest speaker Tulio Pena, and we are going to focus on scripts to prepare us for any potential NAR changes that are going to happen here in July. So Tulio Pena being the scripting wizard of them all, he's going to be walking us through what to say to our clients. So I'm super juiced about that. Hope you guys will join us next month. Thank you, everyone.
Ciao.